We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this rebel outpost of college football with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody, and I mean everybody, into the studio that sits on the corner, that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls later in the show. Welcome on in. It is the last day of the month, and it's been a busy month, but it ain't gonna measure up to what is gonna happen in the month of April. So buckle up, brace for impact. Keep your head on a swivel in the month of April. It's gonna be busy. I hope you join us for the month of April. I hope you have subscribed. If you haven't, shame on you. I know this show is not for everybody, so if you don't want to subscribe, I get it. But if you want to hit the subscribe button, smash the like button for today's live show if you enjoy it. If you don't, hit the thumbs down button. Whatever you need to do. Whatever you need to do. We've got a stack show once again. Every day is a stack show here, especially in the second half of March. I think, I believe, I hope I pray, that I'm getting over this last of my 4 colds that I've had over the last 8 months. It's getting a little bit better today. So hopefully we can give you a better show. So we are going to do way too early PATC 2025 ACC order of finish prediction. The Atlantic Coast Conference. And I got a feeling that Greg the Gold is coming out today. I think he's going to be coming out all season. I think he's going to be coming out all 2025. But I think my way too early 2025 is going to be very close to my official prediction that I make in August. I am becoming more and more confident in the top pick that I have in the ACC. There's a lot of steam coming out of camp with the number 1 team in the ACC. There's a new player that has made his mark already in spring camp. So we will get to it when we get to it. First of all, we're going to go through... Now, when we did the Big Ten order finish prediction, we went through a Tom Fornelli article, CBS Sports, on the win-loss totals. We quickly went through that article before I made my order finish prediction for the Big Ten. We're going to do the same thing in the ACC. Chip Patterson put out a small article on his prediction of the win total, over or under, for the ACC. And then I'm going to quickly go in to my ACC predictions. To start off the show, we're going to be talking about the new hires for Stanford, an interim head coach, and Cincinnati, new GM. We're going to be talking about that real quick to start off the show. And then we are going to go into the Dallas Morning News. Seismic shock. SMU is getting ready for what is about to happen next. Whatever that is. But they are anticipating that something is going to happen. In fact, they've been anticipating. SMU, according to the article that we're going to be going through today. Short little article, but impactful. SMU, it was so certain, proactive, that something is about to happen, that they started having these discussions in and around the next seismic shock, the next realignment wave. They were having these discussions internally 3 months after they officially joined the ACC. 3 months. And now with the ACC settlement, now with Florida State Clemson winning massive victories, SMU is getting prepared. And I know pretty much everybody is, right? Everybody is. But we're going to be looking inside the SMU situation. I want to thank all you joining us today. I do very much appreciate it. I'm very humbled that people would join us on a lazy Monday afternoon, March 31st. Let's get to the roll calls. Bruce Harris, Boomer, is in the house. Lego Gators. Ryan Thomas, Seismic Shock. Ryan Thomas. Seismic Shock. The Walking Geek. Jimmy, Mr. Duck. Gerald Jones, Mr. Buckeyes in the house. Down in Kansas, it's PATC time. Kenneth Stromness, BYU. Scott P-O-O-O. Jonathan Price, let's chop. Rutgers, let's chop. Cornhusker, hello Mad Gopher. Skaven, yes, is in the house. Mr. Seminole, Daniel Gorby, he is here. Matthew Carlson, Mr. Wolverine, is in the house. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, keep your head on a swivel. Charlie Atwood, Penn State, congratulations to the Nittany Lions. They get to the Frozen Four. Holy smokes. Speaking of holy smokes, Tumasta is in the house. Bob Swanger, Gene Calderon, Chef Ball, James Foster, go Sun Devils. My head swiveled just at the right time. Friends, call me Sean is here. Jeff Morgan, Mr. Morgantown Mountaineer. Hello, PATC sickos. Go Mountaineers. Amazing Blue. Nathan, hi, nice to see you, Nathan. Amazing Blue. Wolverine is in the house. Bigger's Ball. Michael Wooten. Marcus Williams. Another Wolverine. We got a lot of Michiganders in the house. Nick Kelso. SMU going to pay their way into the Big Ten? I don't think so. But, no, not on that. But we might have to step back into the speculation zone. Golden Blue Dude speculation zone on something about, well, we'll get into it. We will get into it. Morris Simmons is in the house. Mr. Seminole, The Observer, Nick Kelso, Yellow Martian, the Almighty Finn, Rock and Rant is here. Mr. Hurricane, Steel Austin is in the house. Tim W. checking in on Nico Medved. Tim W. Mr. Colorado State Rambling Rams. I really don't have much on Nico Medved. I guess he's portaling right now, right? Trying to get some players in the portal. There's a couple of Rams players that went. I do not, it's obvious. I do not delve into college basketball like I do college football. I've only got so much. There's only so many seconds in the day, and I'm all booked up, baby. I am all booked up on college football and all my other responsibilities. But I think Nico Medved is probably portaling at this point. AMAC is here. Tyler Brown. No, I don't know. There is no SMU Big Ten situation going on. There is no SMU Big Ten situation going on. Jeff Crabcakes in Football is here. JMath 1978. Jeremy Nork. Jeremy Nork is in the house. Expedition Greg. Go Buckeyes. Vox Quindaro. Rock Shock. Jayhawk. I'm late again. You're not late. You are not late. Richard Brookins. Finally, I see Clemson Tiger in the house. We got to talk. We're talking some Clemson today. We are talking some Clemson today. We're going to be doing our way too early PATC order of finish prediction. But there is something percolating down in spring camp for the Clemson Tigers. And it's good news. It's real good news. It may be good enough news where I might have to, my way too early playoff predictions. The Longhorns beating Clemson in the national championship game. However, something is percolating in Clemson. And I'm going to deliver you the news. Cranky Tiger probably already knows it. There's a lot of excitement in Clemson. Now, Cranky Tiger and other Clemson Tigers within the PATC family, Bo Weevil, when he watches this live show, he's probably screaming, no, Greg. Shh. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it, Greg. Don't talk about what is going on here at Clemson. Don't talk about the dude that has made his arrival. Don't talk about it, Greg the cooler, Greg the loser. The good news is for Cranky Tiger and Bo Weevil and all the other Clemson Tigers that watch his show is this year is Greg the Gold. And I might just be pushing Clemson into the national championship, the winner's circle. I might be pushing Clemson, and I'm gonna let this all marinate. I'm gonna let it all develop for the next couple of months. Maybe in August, maybe I do the old do-si-do, I switcheroo. Maybe I have Clemson beating Texas. Clint Moses is in the house. Pony Up Dallas. Helmer Henderson, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. If we get a miracle and the Big Ten gets North Carolina and Virginia, and the SEC gets Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame decides to come to the Big Ten and insist on bringing Stanford, what then? Does the Big Ten take Stanford? Do we finish with Miami? Wow. Well, of course, there's a lot of speculation wrapped up into that question. Number one, Big Ten gets North Carolina, Virginia. And Big Ten decides to go to the Big Ten. Wow. I mean, if there is now. Look. Whew. My answer to that is I don't know, Helmer Henderson. How about them apples? Look, I think the Big Ten is gonna. There's gonna come a time where the Big Ten is gonna go to 20, possibly 21, and if Notre Dame is involved, it can go beyond 21. If Notre Dame is not involved, they're not gonna go past 21. In my strongly held opinion. So the Big Ten is going to be a 20-team conference. If Notre Dame is not part of that 20, and then there comes a day they decide to pull the trigger, then a 21, 22, even up to a 24 is possible. Kevin Warren talked about it. Other people have talked about it. All that is possible, Helmer Henderson. All of that is possible. But again, let's just get to the Big Ten gets North Carolina, Virginia. They would have to come in at half share. I think the SEC is the favorite. All that is possible, Helmer Henderson. But I don't want to get too much into that. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. But if I speculate too much, then people say Greg is reporting. All I'm going to say is North Carolina is favored to go to the SEC at this point in time. And the Big Ten is not, the door has not shut on the Big Ten. I'm just going to stick with that right now. J-Math is in the house. Thank you so much, Helmer Henderson. You give me great questions that I'm not able to answer. But you make a lot of people think. J-Math, friends call me Sean, Expedition Crush. Oh boy, the Hoosier, the Indiana Hoosier is in the house. The architect. King Spleen, Dante's Inferno Purgatory. James Davis, Jason, SMU back to the American. Woo! Yellow Martian, I don't know if you're trolling or what. If this is a troll job, if I smell that it's a troll job, you are going to be you're going to be dismissed. If you're being serious, that's one thing, but you put on about 4 comments already. Just don't be trolling here. Don't be spamming. Don't be trolling. Big Gun Shop is in the house. Lee Go Gators, Daniel Gygax, Adam Harper, CFB Plus. I just don't want to see a world in which the TCU or SMU go to the Big Ten. John Boxleitner is in the house. Yep, Cranky Tiger, please God, no! Please God, no! No! I ain't saying, but I'm saying. You know this, Cranky Tiger. There is something percolating at Clemson, and we are going to get to it. So everybody in the PATC family knows about it. Everybody, this is a YouTube, college football YouTube channel. We talk college football. We are transparent. Everyone's got to keep their head on a swivel about a certain dude at Clemson. Hold on one second, everybody. Give me a moment. Please give me a moment. Hold on. Please, everybody, hold on here. Okay, Stephen Vitt is in the house. Nice to see Mr. Ohio Bobcat, the MAC champion, conference champion, the Ohio Bobcats, Jay Go Blue, is in the house. Yeah, you don't want to troll me. You don't want to troll me. That's one thing. Look, if you want to put something crazy out there that you think is going to happen, go for it. Absolutely. Look, by the way, we're done with the roll call. I want to thank everybody who's come on here. Daniel Gygax, Mick Stevens, Tough Tony, Gene Calderon, everybody. I want to thank everybody. If you want to come on in the chat room and put something down that seems kind of crazy, go for it. I'm okay with that. This is the show to do it. But don't put like 5 things. And then now you're just trolling. Now you're just taking up, you're spamming. Look, today is the 3rd year anniversary. March 31st, 2022. When I put out the tweet, when I was instructed to put out the tweet about USC had called the Big Ten. And I was called crazy. Not by everybody. Not by Expansion Crush that is in the chat room. Expansion Crush, a longtime friend of mine, he knew what was going on. I informed him. So people called me crazy. I was crushed all over the place. So I understand why you have something you believe to be true. We knew that was true. And people call you crazy. So I'm okay with you guys pushing the envelope. By the way, the most crazy part of that story, well, one of the crazy parts that I've been able to talk about, and Expansion Crush in the chat room knows this completely because he was one of the people kind enough to watch this for me. But when we put out that tweet on March 31st, this is all in that Los Angeles Times article, but this is the 3rd year anniversary. My phone lit up about 1:30. I don't remember quite the time. About 1:30 in the morning. And I happened to be laying on my right side and my eyes were open for whatever reason. I had my phone on vibrate, but I saw it light up. I took the phone and it was BTM calling. BTM, short for Big Ten Man, a long time source. I grabbed the phone. So this was about 4.5 hours after I put out 2 tweets that night on March 31st, 2022. By the way, episode 22, if you go all the way back to episode 22, you'll be able to see, I show all the tweets, I explain a lot of what was going on in the background. But about 4 or 5 hours after that second tweet, I had to put out 2 of them. I get a call from BTM, man, 1:30 in the morning. So I know that something big just happened. I grab my phone, I run out of the bedroom, I run in the living room. Oh, what's up? And he tells me, look at your followers on at that time on Twitter. And I looked at my followers, and the person who started following me was the chief of staff of the Big Ten Conference under Kevin Warren, the chief of staff, and the head of the legal counsel. They started tracking everything I did, everything I said. And they would unfollow me, follow me. The story goes bigger than that. Los Angeles Times did the investigation on it. But what they were trying, and they found out more stuff. What the Big Ten did not want to happen is the conference did not want to be Houston chronicled. The Houston Chronicle put out the news of the Oklahoma and Texas before the SEC wanted that. The Houston Chronicle put out the Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC before the SEC or Oklahoma and Texas wanted that out there. So they didn't want this to happen again. But there were people in the Big Ten who believed that Kevin Warren wasn't going to move on it. Anyways, we're not going to spend any more time on that. If you want to go listen to that whole thing, go back to episode 22. I think August 20-something of 2022. We put that episode out there. Anyway, so again, going back to my original statement. If you believe something, if you've got word on something, no matter how crazy it is, let me know on a phone call. Let me know in the chat room. And we're good. I don't care. I might say it's crazy, not going to happen. I might say you might be on something or you might be onto something. Who knows? But don't be afraid to put it down. Just don't do what that person just did and put 5 or 6 things down and spam the board. That's not what this show's for. Okay. Alrighty. Anyways, let's get to the show. Again, thank you so much, Helmer Hennessy. Great question. The only thing I would say on that, Helmer, is if North Carolina calls up the Big Ten and says, you know what? We know, and there are lots of different reasons why I think the SEC has the edge. But it's not, I don't think it's 100%. If it was, I'd be saying it is. But if North Carolina said, there's a big internal fight here, we could go either way here, but the votes you have at Big Ten, but you know what, Big Ten, we can't come in on half, we can't come in with a half share. We just can't make it work versus what we can get right out of the gate with the SEC. At that time, if the Big Ten has that foot in the door, if they still have a shot, the one way they can get UNC at full share, Oregon at full share, Washington at full share, is to have Notre Dame come on in. If the Big Ten goes to Notre Dame and says, look, North Carolina looks like they might come in if you come in. North Carolina and Notre Dame talk to each other. They have a relationship. We've talked about it. Then that is the one scenario, and we talked about it when we had the live show of UNC and Virginia are joined at the hip. That is one scenario in which UNC and Notre Dame could go to the Big Ten and make Oregon and Washington full, and that would be the Big Ten 20. And maybe it wouldn't go on any further than that. I just don't see it happening. At least I don't see it happening right now. I don't. The door is open for the Big Ten. I don't think it would take a miracle, but I think the Big Ten is down by 10 points in the fourth quarter to SEC, down by 10, trying to nab North Carolina. Anyways, thanks for the super chat. I hope that's a better way of answering it. I don't think so. I don't think the Big Ten, I don't think there's the appetite to pay anybody full pay. Not until the next meteorites. Or if Notre Dame joins, yes, then people are going to get full pay. Or if the Big Ten can get their media partners to redo the whole media package because of the scheduling agreement with the SEC, maybe. But I think that is one of the edges, one of the advantages that the SEC has. If it's just North Carolina and Virginia, Notre Dame still don't want to get into the mix. I believe the SEC would pay Virginia and North Carolina full share. They might bring Florida State and Clemson with them. But I don't think the Big Ten is going to give North Carolina and Virginia full share. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyways, let's get to it. We've got a lot to get to here. Let's first... Ryan Thomas, never ever trust a badger. The mean old critters. They're mean old critters. Thank you, Ryan Thomas. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Stephen Vitt thinks it's 90-10. I would put it 75-25. Expedition Crush, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Okay. Boy, The Observer. We're watching on a 70-inch TV. I tell you what, I'm one ugly dude, man. I am one ugly dude. You've got me on a 70-inch. I apologize, The Observer. I apologize to The Observer. That has got to be a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Okay, so let's get to, before we get to the SMU story, the Dallas Morning News story. Chip Patterson. Remember, we have done here at College Football Peek Around the Corner, we talk football. We talk football during the off season. We're talking about off-season stuff, of course, but we've always got to talk about football. We got to have it all marinate. We've already done our PATC way too early predictions on the SEC. We have Texas winning it all in the SEC. We did our way too early predictions on the Big Ten. We've got Penn State winning the championship Big Ten. We did the Big 12. We got the Arizona State Sun Devils winning the Big 12. We got Baylor coming in second as a surprise. And today we've got a number 1 and a number 2 and a number 3. And that number 2 and that number 3, I believe, are going to be do-si-doing for the next couple of months. I do have a surprise team in there in the ACC. So we are at the end of our way too early predictions of the Power 4 conferences. Next week, we're going to be talking about the G5. The way too early G5 predictions. Chip Patterson. We're going to go through this real quick. He does the over-under win totals for each team. Boston College. Bill O'Brien is moving forward with the Grayson Lambert at quarterback after Thomas Castellanos went off to Florida State. Patterson's got 5 wins for Boston College. The schedule does Boston no favor. Boston College no favors. Drawing a road trip to Michigan State and Notre Dame out of conference, while having to face some of the toughest teams in conference with dates against Clemson, Louisville, and SMU. Under 5.5, Boston College. Chip Patterson, CBS Sports, California. The over-under number is 6.5. He's got wins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. New offensive coordinator, Brian Harsin. With a pair of now the quarterback, you've got Devin Brown. Remember the transfer from Ohio State. I think he's going to be QB number 1, over 6.5. No Clemson or Miami on their schedule. Now you're gonna recognize here real quick that Chip Patterson has most of the ACC schools going over their over-under number, which is interesting. Clemson. He's got Clemson going over 9.5. I'm going to have over a 9.5, no question about it. Losses at Louisville and South Carolina. So Chip Patterson has Clemson losing to the Gamecocks on the road, losing to the Cardinals on the road. This Clemson team brings back a ton of key pieces. Cade Klubnik. We know about him. We've been talking about him during the offseason. Peter Woods, a D tackle. Wesco and Williams at wide receiver. And they got another dude that we're going to be talking about shortly. Something is percolating. Something special is happening at Clemson. Duke. The Duke Blue Devils, over and under 6.5. Duke has been going over the last couple of years, right? They keep winning 8, 9 games. But not this year, according to Chip Patterson. After finishing in the tie for 4th, 9 wins in the regular season, it's looking like it will be a bit of white knuckle road to match that success in 25. There are 6 games that we have declared as toss-ups, with the expectation that the Blue Devils will not be more than a 1-score favorite or underdog in those contests. But he still has them going over 6.5, and so do I. I think Duke, well, we'll get to that in a second. Darren Mensah, the quarterback, very excited to watch Darren Mensah. Florida State over under 7.5. Chip Patterson's got him winning 8 games. Losses to Alabama, Miami, at Clemson, at Florida, but they beat everybody else. Florida State made history as the first ever 17th place team in the ACC standings with a 1-7 conference record. While it is impossible to know what both the Seminoles and the Gators will look like in late November, we do know that the Crimson Tide are 8.5-point favorites in Tallahassee for the opener. And that line should tell you how Florida State is viewed compared to the best teams in the country. Now, Chip Patterson still has them going over 7.5. He's got them winning 8 games. There is quite the difference, though, right? Florida State playing in Dublin, Ireland against Georgia Tech. Florida State marching down the field on the first drive, scoring a touchdown. Holy smokes, DJ Ungale leading them to a 7-0 lead. And then it all went pear-shaped. And now this year, they're going to start the season as an 8.5-point underdog against Alabama. Chip Patterson has them going over the 7.5 win total. Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets, the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech. The over-under is 7.5. And Chip Patterson has them going under. Brent Key has built great momentum since taking over as head coach of Georgia Tech. The ceiling for this team could be knocking on the door of an ACC title contention, as every non-Clemson opponent is beatable. But winning all 7 of your toss-up games doesn't happen often. Under 7.5. The Louisville Cardinals, over-under is 8.5, and Chip Patterson has them going over. The only losses that Louisville has is Miami, Virginia Tech, and Kentucky. They were a bit of a chaos team last season. They beat Clemson by double digits in Death Valley, only to turn around two weeks later in Palo Alto with a stunning loss at Stanford. Holy smokes. The roster has gotten a major influx of transfer portal talent. Can Jeff Brom assemble the new pieces? They can beat anybody in the conference. A 5-0 start should be the expectation. Over 8.5. What do you guys got, Louisville Cardinals? Interesting team this year. Miami Hurricanes, over under 8.5. Chip Patterson has them going over. Losses to Notre Dame, Florida, and at SMU. 5 of the first 8 games on the schedule are potential losses for the Hurricane team that lost Cam Ward, but still has the requisite talent level to compete for the ACC title and a spot to the college football playoff. Now I have the Miami Hurricanes ranked 9th in my way too early playoff predictions. Playing Notre Dame, and of course they play Notre Dame at the beginning of the season in the regular season. And I got them playing in the first round of the playoffs. So I do have Miami in the playoffs. However, there is one game on that schedule that is going to be the most important game, and I cannot wait to talk about it when I get to my predictions. Miami's going to have to be looking over their shoulder at a certain particular team in the ACC, in my opinion. North Carolina over and under 7.5 wins. Chip Patterson has them going 8-4. Bill Belichick goes over the Vegas total. Bill Belichick era will be one of the most intriguing storylines of the entire college football season. And the good news for the Tar Heels is the schedule sets up perfectly, basically. The serious reconstruction through the coaching change. They're going to stack some wins. Coach and program are facing unusually high scrutiny for year one. Resiliency will be needed for this projection to play out. Chip Patterson is calling for a 3-3 start, but then they get going. Chip Patterson has the Tar Heels over 7.5. North Carolina State Wolfpack over under 6.5. And Chip Patterson has them going 6-6. North Carolina State stood to benefit from the ACC getting rid of its divisions, as it no longer faced an annual slate of Clemson, Florida State, Louisville in conference play. And while Clemson isn't on the schedule for 25, this is still a daunting run of opponents that includes road trips to Miami and Notre Dame and a visit from the Seminoles in late November. North Carolina State, he's got them going over, 7-5. The Pittsburgh Panthers over under 5.5. He's got them going 6-6. Pittsburgh started, remember, 7-0. Eli Holstein, the quarterback, he was playing great. He got injured. He got nicked up. The Panthers collapsed at the end of the season. They play that big game on September 13th. The backyard brawl against West Virginia. Over 5.5. What do you guys think? The Panthers, are they going to be able to survive the backyard brawl? Once again, they've been winning lately. Rich Rod, Narduzzi, woo! Holy smokes, there's some personalities in that game. SMU, we're going to be talking about SMU later on in the monologue. Over under at 8.5 wins. Chip Patterson has the Ponies winning 9. Going over. Holy smokes. Rhett Lashley is 16-0 in conference games across the last 2 seasons. And while SMU would really have preferred a more successful college football playoff debut, there is every reason to think the Mustangs are a playoff contender in 25 and moving forward. SMU rates as one of the top tier teams in the ACC, and we're projecting it will handle business as such. But unfortunately for the Ponies, for the Mustangs, unfortunately, the other 3 teams in that top tier are all on Mustang's schedule. But Chip Patterson has them going over the 8.5. Stanford with the new interim coach. In case you missed it, Stanford fired Troy Taylor this month. Woo! I'm not going to talk much about it because who knows who's going to be on that team at the start of the season. The pick is under the 3.5 win total. Under the win total of 3.5. Let me say that again. Chip Patterson is taking the under. The under at 3.5. Syracuse Orange over under 5.5 wins. Fran Brown had a fantastic debut with the Orange, but they are going to take some steps back. They are. They combine that schedule, tough schedule, with the loss of McCord, the Quint Allen, the great running back, 3 of the top 4 pass catchers, under 5.5. Chip Patterson, under 5.5. Virginia Cavaliers, over-under at 5.5. Unfortunately for the Cavaliers, Tony Elliott, Chip Patterson is going under at 5.5, having Virginia only win 4 games. 4 games. And if Virginia goes 4-8, I think that will be it for Tony Elliott. Chandler Morris, once again, in the portal, hopped to Virginia via North Texas by the way of TCU in Oklahoma. Virginia, under 5.5. The Hokies, Virginia Tech. That was a great triple play by the Virginia Tech softball team this weekend. Holy smokes. Over-under win total, 6.5. Chip Patterson has the under. Wow, the under. Brent Pry, if he goes under, I don't know if he's going to survive, to be honest with you. 6-7 record last year. Back-to-back games against SEC opponents to start this season. Wake Forest, over-under 4.5. And Chip Patterson has him going over 4.5. Dave Clawson's retirement. Jake Dickert coming from Washington State. Coming on in. It's going to be a tough job. But they have 2 Conference USA teams on the schedule. Delaware joins the league this season. And that's why he's got Wake Forest over 4.5. So what do you think of Chip Patterson's over and under predictions for the ACC? Where is the confidence in North Carolina coming from? I don't know, man. I do not know because, well, I'm going to make my predictions. You're all going to see my predictions in a moment. I don't know. Bill Belichick, I guess. Pittsburgh will get demolished at the backyard brawl. Daniel Gygax, the Mountaineer. College football is pain. Xavier Wolf, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Before I get to my predictions here, Pete Thamel, we all saw this. Stanford is hiring veteran NFL coach Frank Reich as the school's interim football coach for the 25 season. Both sides have agreed this will only be a 1-season agreement. At that point, Stanford will launch a national search. This is tough, man. This is, I get it. Nobody, you want to be able to have a search. You want to have potential at grabbing top candidates. The calendar, it doesn't look good, right? I mean, I get this. I get this why they're doing this. I get why Andrew Luck pulled the trigger. The general manager, they don't even have an athletic director. I understand why Andrew Luck is going in this direction, but holy smokes. When you have a head coach, an interim head coach, who the players know he's not going to be there next year, how do they recruit? How do they go portaling? Now, I understand money speaks a lot when it comes to recruiting. Oftentimes, players are looking for the top dollar. But still, you want to have still, the head coach is important to to some degree when it comes to recruiting. And to coach this season, when everybody knows you're an interim coach, you're only going to be around there for so many months. You have no relationship with the players when you come on in. It really is something. It's going to be a very tough situation for Frank Wright. Oklahoma City Thunder Corey Evans has been hired to be Cincinnati's general manager. Sources told On3 Sports. Evans joined OKC in 2020 after being recruiting analyst at Rivals. He's one of the most respected and well-connected individuals in the space. Corey Evans, Cincinnati Bearcats. Okay, so let's get to the SMU story here. SMU, after bold move for Damon Evans, remember, the former athletic director of the Maryland Terrapins. After bold move for Damon Evans, is SMU ready for the next seismic shock in college sports? Evans, SMU's newest athletic director, made it clear Thursday that the Mustangs are just getting started. The Dallas Morning News, Kevin Sheraton, University Park. Since the news 19 months ago that SMU would join the ACC after 30 years in the wilderness, you might have thought its wildest ambitions accomplished. Turns out, not so much. We've got to focus on today, new athletic director Damon Evans said. But we've got to be looking and seeing what is coming down the road. We can't get caught off guard and surprised, which might explain all the new faces at SMU. One of the people pushing these changes is David Miller, chairman of the board of the trustees, told me Thursday the school hadn't been in the ACC PATC money shot number 1 of the article. Told me Thursday the school hadn't been in the ACC 3 months before the school's power brokers, the money, the boosters who pay to get them in the ACC, the ones who grease the skids, the boosters, the power brokers. David Miller, the chairman of the board of the trustees, told me Thursday the school hadn't been in the ACC 3 months before the school's power brokers were having extensive conversations about what they should do to prepare for the next wave of realignment. Extensive conversations. And when they had extensive conversations to get out of the AAC to go to the ACC, those extensive conversations had bags and bags and bags of cash involved. So, again, SMU are lining up for the seismic shock, whatever is about to happen. As a result, in comes the president, Jay Hartzell, who shepherded Texas' move to the SEC. Out goes Rick Hart, and in his place comes an athletic director who's held similar positions in the SEC and the Big Ten and knows all the power players personally. which can't hurt if the ground starts moving again. We have to have really strong, powerful, bold, athletic leadership in order to get there, Miller said, and stay there. Exactly when the next wave of realignment comes and what it will look like, it's hard to say. But it is coming. And it starts with the SEC, Big Ten in Notre Dame. Hold on one second. I just got to clear something up. Hold on one second, everybody. Most likely. But how many schools would be welcome for the top tier? If the net is only big enough for 40, SMU might be on the bubble at best. But at least it's in the realm of possibility. 5 years ago, it had been a pipe dream. It would have only been a pipe dream. The school is far too long getting over the debilitating effects of the death penalty. But the momentum has picked up considerably since the move to the ACC. Could the school on the hilltop survive the next seismic shock? Let's get to a place where there's just not a whole lot of conversations about it, Miller said. In other words, let's make it this no doubt that we will survive the next seismic shock. And why can't SMU in Dallas, Texas do that, he said. Crazy thing is, the question isn't silly anymore. Dallas Morning News, SMU is preparing for the next seismic shock. Now, I'm going to tell you guys what I think this is all about. And then I'm going to take your comments. I'm going to take your phone calls. Now I'm going to get, so I'm going to get a few people mad at me, which I have to do. I got to crack some eggs here. And I'm going to go into the speculation zone. I'm going to go into the golden blue dude, Chris Petrie speculation zone. There is, I never like to say there's zero chance, but there is zero chance that SMU is going to ever become a member of the Big Ten. There's not enough money. It ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. SMU, great school in a great market, but it ain't going to happen. SMU going to the SEC ain't going to happen. So what are they preparing for then? What are they getting ready for then? Obviously, they're getting ready for the ACC getting poached, right? They're ready for the ACC to get poached. And they're not going to be a Big 12 school. Big 12 already has 4 Texas schools. They're not going to grab a 5th. So what are these extensive conversations all about? What could they be all about? I mean, what is so extensive about, okay. Now again, I'm speculating. Hopefully it's an educated speculation, but you guys might think I'm crazy. So put it down in the comments. Because it doesn't take an extensive conversation. They're ready. They've started talking 3 months after they got into the ACC. They're already preparing for what is next. It doesn't take much to talk about, ACC is going to get poached. We're going to do all we can to get to the Power 2, but we're probably not going to get there. Therefore, we're going to have to backfill. We're going to have to make the ACC as best as we possibly can. We're not going to go back to the AAC. We're going to, in the Pac-12, they probably want, maybe they take us, but we don't really want to go west. I think there's more to this. I think this is the canary in the coal mine. I really think that schools are preparing for a seismic. Now, this is not a peak. I'm not reporting this. For right now, I'm just speculating. Everyone's talking about this Super League, this 40-team Super League. In fact, and I'm going to be talking about something else here, though. Even in this article, they're talking about, can SMU be one of the top 40 in that top tier? I do not believe in a Super League at all. You all know this. And if I end up being wrong, I'll take the biggest L. I believe the only thing that could be even close to a Super League is the Big Ten and the SEC expand with a couple more schools, and they break away and they call themselves a Super League. Well, okay, fine. But I don't think there's going to be a Super League coming on in that essentially ends Big Ten and SEC autonomy. Don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think SMU is going to get into this top 40 because I don't think there's going to be a top 40 Super League. And I don't think SMU is going to be able to get into the Big Ten or the SEC. What I do believe, what I believe that is possibly going on, and again, this is not an official peek around the corner. It's not. It's not like when I said on September 9th, the Big Ten is going for 4 automatic qualifiers. It ain't the 3 guys, it's the 4. So it's not that. But I think SMU and other schools don't quite know what is going to happen between the Big 12 and the ACC. I think that is the seismic shock. Possibly. Again, not a peak. Not quite yet. But if people are going to be speculating about a Super League, I'm going to be speculating about a possible side. I am not sure. Now this is all depending on who would get poached from the ACC. How big and deep is the poaching job? If it's a shallow poach, if it's just like taking North Carolina, Virginia, and the Big Ten says, no, we're good, and Notre Dame says, no, we're good, then the ACC is gonna survive. But if it's a shallow poach, I still don't believe Florida State and Clemson remains in the ACC. You get where I'm saying? If the appetite, for whatever reason, economically, if the media market goes way tight, if we go into a recession, if whatever the reasons, if the poaching is shallow, SEC and Big Ten, if it's very shallow, where the ACC is going to continue on, where there's not going to be many P2 spots open, I still don't believe the top brand ACC schools are going to stay in the ACC. Now that might be Florida State and Clemson, or Florida State and Clemson get taken in the poaching. But Miami doesn't. Georgia Tech doesn't. Duke doesn't. Louisville doesn't. Virginia Tech. I don't think those top schools, I think there could be a possibility of a seismic shock between the Big 12 and the ACC. I think there's a better chance. I think there's a better chance, depending on the poaching of the ACC, that there's a better chance that the top brands of the Big 12 and the top brands of the ACC have a kumbaya moment in 2030-31. Where we're looking at a P3. If you cannot get there, if the conference that you are in cannot match the great value that you have, but yet you can't get to the Big Ten and the SEC, maybe something else is going to be created. Now, I'm just speculating. I am just speculating. I am not reporting nothing. I know nothing. Remember, I'm a moron. I'm a moron. The Minnesota moron. However, if, and it's a big if, but if we get a report in early April, or if we get a report today saying that, the Big 12, they just couldn't quite get that Redbird Capital deal done. They couldn't get it done because they couldn't get everybody on board. They couldn't get everybody on board because they would have had to commit longer to the conference. It would have stretched out from 2030, 31, and let's say 2034, 35, 36, whatever. Something to that effect. If we see a report, and I don't know if it's coming or not, I really don't. I'm not embargoed. I don't know. The last thing I heard reporting from West Virginia 247 that it wasn't quite done yet. They're having more. They still don't got everybody on board yet. So if that report comes down to where they did not get it done, and that Big 12 grant of rights, the media package ends 2030-31, and no, that 99-year thing doesn't mean a hill of beans. And you've got $75 million exit in 2030-31 for the ACC schools. I don't know. I mean, I can see a Pittsburgh and a West Virginia and a Louisville and a Virginia Tech and a Georgia Tech and maybe Miami's still there. Hell, maybe Florida State, Clemson's still there. Kansas. I can see I can see SMU going, talking to Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. You can see where it will get to be trying to figure out what is that third power conference, if there's the opportunity for that to happen. Now, with the exit fee going down to $75 million for the ACC schools, and with the media deal being done at the same time in the Big 12, that is what I think schools are going, whoa, wait a second here. Wait a second here. Are we poaching from the ACC or are they poaching from us if you're in the Big 12? ACC has the ACC has the ACC network, support from ESPN. Who's poaching from who? Or are both of us going to poach from each other and create this conference? Because I believe that Florida State and Clemson are going to get to what there's nothing. Florida State and Clemson are going to get to the level they need to get to. They are. I think Miami is too. But they're going to be able to get to that level, that money, that revenue that they need to have, that access, that exposure they need to have to compete at the highest level because they're just too damn valuable. I've said that 1,000 times. I still got people saying that I'm anti-Florida State. I'm not anti-Florida State. I just told the truth that they were not the top targets of the SEC and the Big Ten. And it wasn't happening last year. They weren't filing the notice of withdrawal. The unequal revenue sharing gets them to that, closer to that point, or gets them to that point. But the next iteration, 2030, 31, if there isn't the appetite for deep, medium poaching from the Big Ten and the SEC, Florida State and Clemson ain't going to be hanging around the ACC how it's currently formed. And they're not. They're going to get more value somewhere, somehow. And the creation of a top-branded Big 12 and top-branded ACC schools, and holy smokes, the discussions on who they are could go on for weeks and months and years. I think that is this. When I read this SMU article, and the people that I've talked with, you can almost I ain't saying, but I'm saying. I'm speculating. This is not a peak, not yet. But I think when you are reading this stuff, when you are watching college football YouTube channels, speculate like they should, because nobody knows, nobody has the crystal ball. I can give you the most accurate peak, but there's so many variables going on right now, starting with North Carolina. I can see people starting to talk about a future Power 3 conference, another conference that don't reach the SEC Big Ten level in value, but the next conference that is elevated past the Big 12 and the ACC. The opportunity for that to happen, if it's a shallow poaching job by the SEC and the Big Ten, the potentiality of that happening, I think is there. I really do. Especially if we don't get a Big 12 capital deal or an ACC capital deal. If we don't hear anything about that, and I don't think we're going to hear anything about that from the ACC. But if the Big 12 cannot herd all their players, all their institutions. Now, if we do get a report today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the Big 12 did sign a deal, and it lengthens their commitment to the conference because that's what the private equity company needed. Okay, then this speculation has been destroyed, obviously. But when I think about SMU, again, no disrespect, just my strongly held opinion, SMU don't have a shot at the Big Ten. SMU do not have a shot at the SEC. And so when the poaching does happen for the ACC, SMU is going to be they're going to be one of the top valuable programs, institutions, athletic departments remaining in the ACC after the ACC gets poached. The SMU is not going to be taken by the Big 12. So I think the only extensive talks that the SMU is having, the only way they're preparing for a seismic shock is they are gaming this out, and they see the potential that in 2030-31, what does the ACC look like? Big 12 media rights is done. They're in the renegotiations. Is there going to be some... and just to extend this crazy speculation, some of these Big 12 schools, some of these ACC schools have been going to the same private capital meetings. I ain't saying, I'm just saying, cloak and dagger, pure speculation at this point. But maybe, just maybe, SMU, that's what they're prepared for. Put down your comments. I'm going to open up the phone lines, and we'll get to it. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me know, what do you think SMU has been having extensive talks about? What are they prepared for? Do they actually think they can get to a Power 2? What's going on? I haven't even gone through my predictions yet. Holy smokes.
Call from Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, the floor is yours. After Ryan Thomas's phone call, I'm going to have to take the phone off the hook just for a minute because I got to get to my ACC predictions order finish. I got to wrap that up. We got to get that done today because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here in the month of April. Go ahead, sir. Sorry, Ryan.
Well, Greg, I think you're spot on a lot of what you said. I think when I think about this, if there was enough value for the Big Ten and the SEC to go to 24 teams and expand massively, we would have a third conference making that same level of money. Those brands out there, I think there's a certain level of saturation that they reach, and I think that saturation is around 20 or 21 schools. I could see 21 possibly happening. And if you did have that happen, if Notre Dame's stubborn, I could see 21 happening, and somehow you could work out a scheduling thing where you'd have 8 conference games, one non-conference game against another P3 and one against the other P3, and then have some G5s mixed in there and get 7 games for all the 7 home games for all the P3s. But I could see a world in which that evolves. But I want to point out that I don't necessarily think that the pie is set at one level. I think there's a lot of growth potential. When you look at markets like Denver and Phoenix, Orlando, there's a lot of growth potential for these schools. Whether or not they're Big Ten or SEC fits, it may not always work, but I think people need to be reminded the reason why private equity is in play here is because it's the investment level to really increase the value and brand of your school and conference in an attempt to eventually, at the next TV deal, get or close that gap in revenue. And that can only really be accomplished by upping your ratings and upping your brand, and that's why that money is in there, is needed. And there may be a few holdouts, but I've got some sad news for Kansas fans. I don't think the SEC is coming knocking. I would give that up. That's probably not going to happen. Sorry to break it to you, but for the SEC to get North Carolina, there might be some different combinations of the code of the key that's required to make that happen. I think that's just one thing. I'm going to bring up our good buddy Immaculate here. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of some of the private schools that are left in the ACC, forming some sort of arrangement with either the Big East or doing something on their own, or working with the Ivy League, or doing something to in that regards. I think there's a lot of possibility there, but I do think that we'll have in the short term a P2, and then the possibility of growing to a P3 with those schools, kind of the growth potential schools. And I really think at the end of the day, Redbird Capital is going to happen. That private equity deal is going to happen because, let's be honest, what choice do the rest of those schools have? It's either wither and die in irrelevance, or get the short-term money you need to stay relevant and build your brand and increase your ratings. There really isn't an option, and I think as that becomes clearer to some of these presidents, I think that you'll see that private capital deal happen, Greg. And that's just my 2 cents. I appreciate everything you do on the show. That's my speculation zone. I'm generally full of something, Greg, whether it's wisdom or bleepity bleep. I'll let the listener decide. But thanks for all you're doing, Greg. And to Tony out there, remember, Badgers are evil. Take care. Bye.
You got it. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. I have taken the phone off the hook. I got to get my picks in. It's only going to take like 5 minutes. Then we'll get back to your phone calls. Bill G, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships once again. Holy smokes. Bill G, 5 gifted memberships. 7 Empis, King Spleen, I Got the Keys, Keith Moore, O.T. Hicks Sr., Sam 8911SK. We're all gifted a membership. When you have an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G. He is incredibly generous. To the whole PATC family, wow. Another 5 gifted memberships from Bill G. All of you are officially knighted. Cloak and Dagger. Go watch our early peak Cloak and Dagger membership episodes. Thank you so much, Bill G. I appreciate so much what you've done for this channel. Thank you so much for your generosity with the PATC family. I appreciate it. Now, I got to get to my predictions. And then we're going to go back to your phone calls. My bad. Horrible production of the show from yours truly. Okay, so this is it, guys. This is my way too early order finish prediction, ACC. Then we're going to open up the phone lines. Once again, I have all the rights in the world to make changes come August. But I think I've got something here. Now, the problem I'm having is between number 2 and number 3. I'm going to explain it after I just quickly go through the 17. Number one, of course, is Clemson. Klubnik, Peter Woods, Wesco Williams, and they've got another guy I'm going to talk about in a second. There is something going on, something percolating at Clemson. I'm going to get to it in a moment. Number 2, Miami. Number 3, Louisville. Miami and Louisville. Woo! I got Miami number 2, and I got them in the playoffs. And I've got Louisville banging on the door. You guys know I like Carson Beck more than most people out there. I think Miami's going to have a great year. They've got a weird schedule. They've got an off week, then a game, then an off week. It's not conducive. It's not conducive to a successful season, but I think Miami's going to be there. I love their new defensive coordinator. Louisville is, wow. Now, Louisville plays at Miami. So, but I think Miller Moss is the perfect quarterback for Jeff Brom. Period. I think he's the perfect match. Jeff Brom's offense, where he doesn't do maximum protection. He sends everybody out there. And as a quarterback, you got to make the quick read, the quick check down. Miller Moss is your guy. Jeff Brom, pocket passer, West Coast offense. Miller Moss is the dude. You can't have Miller Moss rolling out. You can't have Miller Moss trying to make plays off schedule. You've got Isaac Brown there. And guess what? Jeff Brom is going to give Isaac Brown the rock. Unlike what Lincoln Riley did at USC for Miller Moss, when USC would be running the ball so good and then suddenly they would stop giving the ball to Woody Marks and Quentin Joyner. I think Miller Moss and Louisville is the perfect marriage. And they've got the schedule to do it, but they got that road game at Miami. And right now I got Miami number 2, Louisville number 3. And I'll quickly go through the rest here. Number 4, SMU. They're going to be really good again. Number 5, Georgia Tech. They're going to be pretty damn good again. They got Haynes King and Jamal Haynes. Number 6, Florida State. Their reemergence starts here this season. I think the ceiling is just a little bit too low on Thomas Castellanos. I think he's going to do some good things in Tallahassee, but I don't think Florida State is going to be in that very top tier of Clemson, Miami, Louisville, and I'd put SMU right on the edge of that top tier. Number 7, Duke. They're going to have a very good year this year. That over-under of 6.5, they're going over on that. North Carolina, got them 8. North Carolina State, got them 9. California, 10. Devin Brown, and they've got Jaden Ott coming back, the running back. Number 11, Pittsburgh. Number 12, Syracuse. They take a slide from last year. Virginia Tech, a little bit of a slide from last year, and I think their head coach is going to be in trouble. Virginia, I think this is it for Elliott. Boston College, Wake Forest, Stanford at the bottom. Now, before we get back to your phone calls, Clemson, Miami, Louisville, SMU, top 4. Before we get to your phone calls, there is a man. There is a running back. A running back at Clemson. and I've been saying, there's a couple things that I need to see out of Clemson. Who is going to carry the rock? Phil Maffa is gone. And we got to see how they're going to stop the running game, the opponent's running game. Peter Woods, putting him in a new position. He's not going to be able to do it alone. They've answered one of the questions. Gideon Davidson. Gideon Davidson, freshman. He is blowing the doors off the hinges in spring camp at Clemson. Gideon Davidson, remember the name. The Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator, said something. Then the head coach said something. Quarterback has been talking about him. And now you've got Antoine Williams, the wide receiver Williams, Antonio Williams, talking about him. Like when they do questions and answers after the practice. This kid's got smoke. He's like, you remember last year, Jeremiah Smith, the receiver from Ohio State? He became a legend in spring football. Then it went to August football, and then the season started. Bo Weaver knows what I'm talking about. Gideon Davidson, he's doing what Jeremiah Smith did, but at the running back position. Remember the name. Clemson. What am I going to do with Clemson? I got them in the championship game, but I am getting close. Possibly getting closer to having Clemson beat Texas in the championship game. A lot of good news at Clemson. Okay, now we're going to open up the phone lines once again. I apologize. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Talk anything in college football that your heart desires. But we've done here at PATC the way too early predictions for the 4 power conferences. Texas in the SEC. Penn State in the Big Ten. Arizona State in the Big 12, and Clemson in the ACC.
From
Rick.
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours.
Well, 1 week from today, House versus NCAA.
Yes, April 7th. Yes, big day.
In your speculation zone, that's where we're putting this.
Yes.
Is Brett Yormark conspiring to do this?
No, absolutely not. No, these commissioner jobs are to, for everybody in their conference. So, which is why.
This is a conspiracy among
schools.
8. We'll use the number 8. 8 schools from the Big 12 and 8 schools from the ACC to get together.
It would have to take a grand conspiracy. The odds are against it. It's a lot easier from one conference to poach from the other. It's just wild speculation. But how do I put this? If the poaching of the ACC happens to be shallow, and I'm not saying it is, but I'm just trying to speculate on one particular scenario. There's still no way the top ACC schools are going to stay in that conference how it is. So, and I'm not sure going to the Big 12 would be the solution. Maybe it would. But there's another solution out there which would take a grand conspiracy, huge cloak and dagger, and the odds are very small, even with our speculation. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you. But I guess I would also add that those who were severely impacted by being left out are also going to take a legal action against those that did this to them.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. 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 Yep.
Similar to Oregon State watching this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is fun to think about. Thank you.
Yep. You got it. Appreciate it. Again, it was definitely not a peak. Just speculation. SMU, they're getting prepared. We went through an article from the Dallas Morning News, just like everybody else. Seismic shock. Ready for this next seismic shock. One of the people pushing these changes, David Miller, chairman of the board of trustees, told me Thursday the school, SMU, hadn't been in the ACC 3 months before the school's power brokers were having extensive conversations about what they should do to prepare for the next wave of realignment. So, they brought in President Jay Hartzell, who shepherded Texas. A lot of stuff going on at SMU and elsewhere. No question about it.
Call from
Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, it seems like every other day there's a rumor surrounding an ACC program. First is Duke, now it's Miami, now it's SMU.
Well, this is not a rumor. This is just we're just speculating on what SMU could be preparing for the next seismic shock. That's all we're doing. But go ahead, sir.
Right. Yeah, so that sounds to me like there is serious chatter behind the scenes.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely, sir.
So, what could, if you're another ACC program, maybe starting hearing rumors of teams talking or programs talking to other conferences, what will be the response? It's like if you don't talk, you might get left behind, or if you do talk and it causes other adverse reactions elsewhere, it's like damn if you do that, damn if you don't.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of, like what you said, there's a lot of chatter behind the walls. I mean, when you got Florida State and Clemson going to the courts and suing, right? But when that news came out that North Carolina had spent over $600,000 on a top law firm, just on one issue alone, looking at their options in regards to conference affiliation. When that came out in public, I mean, the message sent to all these other ACC schools are like, holy smokes, because they know, we talk about it almost every day on the show, but they know that North Carolina is the one that is holding the thread, and if they pull on it, it's going to be chaos in the ACC. So when that came out in public, that North Carolina put that much money into it, they were that proactive in it, they hired the top law firm for it, and they still have that relationship with that law firm. Boy, that sent the message, Movie Time Blues.
Yeah, and I think SMU has experience in dealing with the adverse effects of realignment. So they know, that it could go south again for them. So I understand why they're not standing still.
Yep. Yep.
But how would like a Boston College? How would they react? Because they know what the true worth is. So what could their alternative be?
What could Boston College be doing? Probably, I think the only thing they would be doing is game planning out how they would spend all that exit fee money, and being in communication with the ACC, saying, how is that going to be distributed to us again? If there are two schools that are leaving, and if they're both paying, what would that be? $147 million. Let's say two schools both spend $147 million exit fee to get out before next August, or they file the notice before next August, or before August 15th. So they're playing in 27 in a different conference. So that's almost $300 million. That's what I think Boston College would be planning for. We're going to get this exit fee money, and how are we going to spend it? How are we going to invest it? And then how are we going to get ready for the next realignment? How do we backfill in the ACC? How do we make sure the ACC is, if we can't be the third top conference, can we be the fourth top conference? Something like that. I'm just speculating, but that's what I think Boston College would be talking about internally. What do you think they would be talking about?
Maybe they'll have to talk to Connecticut and see if they could pair up. And
that their relationship isn't any. Boston College and UConn's relationship is horrific. So I don't think they'll be talking. Boston College kept UConn out of the ACC. So.
And politics makes strange bedfellows.
True.
All right, I'll let you go now.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Movie Time Blues. Great call, sir.
All right. Sure, no problem.
Great call by Movie Time Blues. Helmer Henderson. Greg, I brought up the previous question because you said North Carolina, Virginia is the first hurdle. If that hurdle is too problematic, why not skip that hurdle to get a lead in the realignment race? In other words, why not? I think you're asking why maybe the SEC would do something else, or the Big Ten would do something else. I happen to believe that the Big Ten and the SEC are, especially on the Big Ten side, I don't think their appetite is really that large right now for expansion. There's still so many things they got to get through this year, with the House NCAA case. They got to get through the playoff format. One of the indications that could tell us what type of appetite the SEC and the Big Ten has, are they going to go to 16 right away? Are we going to have a 16-team playoff in 26? That might give us an indication that the Big Ten and the SEC are, we might add a couple more schools. But I think, the Big Ten is looking at Birmingham. SEC's looking at Rosemont, Illinois. And they're both looking at each other. They both want to make sure that they are fairly equal, sort of, kind of, when it comes to the marketplace, the market share of all college sports. So if one is not leaping out of the head of the other, I think they're eyeing each other. They both know. This is not a secret. Even if some people don't want to acknowledge it, it's not a secret. They both know that North Carolina is their number one target, putting Notre Dame aside for this discussion. So they're both going after North Carolina, and I think they both know that SEC has the edge. But Big Ten ain't going to give up. And until that North Carolina piece moves, I don't think we're going to see other movement. That is my strongly held opinion from people that I talk with. A lot of really good, smart YouTube channels out there disagree with me. And they might end up being right. But from what all I can tell you is what I've been telling you really clearly for everybody since June 15th of last year. 6 weeks before Brett McMurphy's article came out. I was clear as you can be. And until that, so if it's problematic for North Carolina when it comes to the Board of Governors, if it's too problematic for Virginia when it comes to state politics in the state of Virginia with Virginia Tech, then I think we just I don't think anything happens until that gets resolved. I think, I go back to this again. Okay, hold on. I got to say this. I'm going to say this, and people are going to disagree. Some people are going to disagree. Some really good, smart people are going to disagree, and I'm fine with that. Let me know in the chat, phone calls, put it on X, whatever you want to do. But North Carolina, they know the position that they are in. They know it. They know that the SEC wants them. It might take a while. It might not take too much long at all. They know that the Big Ten has been knocking on their door. They've wanted North Carolina for a long time. They just know this. The reason why they spent $600,000 and they spent more than that, that was back then. Who knows how much on this one issue, looking at everything, probably having lawyers talk to lawyers. Remember, they probably can have first party talks going on right now with the lawyers and with representative of these conferences. I don't know if that's happening yet. If I get the word on that, I'm going to tell you guys that, like I've done before. But they know the position that they're in. They've invested the money. They did not want ACC expansion. They did not want to sue Florida State. They didn't vote for ACC expansion. They did not vote to sue Florida State and Clemson. They know the position that they're in. So there's no doubts going on here. And I believe Clemson and Florida State know the position that North Carolina's in. And I happen to think that Florida State and Clemson are working, come on, man, they're working it. They're going to try to draft along with North Carolina and Virginia. They're going to try that first but North Carolina, it has to be the piece that moves first. I would be shocked if that's not the piece that moves first. I would be flummoxed. I would question everything. If it ain't North Carolina and Virginia moving first, or if it's not North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson moving all together first to the SEC, I would be absolutely shocked. Because in these things, I don't even if the Big Ten was 90% sure that North Carolina had all their I's dotted, all their T's crossed, if the Big Ten was 90% sure that North Carolina was a couple weeks away from making the deal to join the SEC, I still think that the Big Ten would wait for that to happen officially, and then have that call with Notre Dame, have a long talk with Miami, Florida State, but they got to see that North Carolina piece go first, because that's how it's done. I would be just unbelievably shocked if the Big Ten made any other moves first, if the SEC made any other moves first. Maurice Simmons says, prepare to be shocked. Okay, I will. No question about it, Morris. You know, I would take the big L if I need to. Thank you for the super. So I don't think that hurdle is going to be skipped. So that's my answer to your very generous super chat, Helmer Henderson. I don't think that hurdle is going to be skipped. A lot of smart people think it is going to be skipped. We shall see. We shall see. Morris Simmons, prepare to be shocked. Florida man, if Florida goes to the SEC, then Clemson is our travel partner. If we go to the Big Ten, we will get paired with Miami. I think there's a lot of truth to that, Florida man. I think there is a lot of truth to that. We shall see. Ryan Thomas, being Greg the Gold pick is like being a guest at the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. They become possessed with bad luck and self-destruct. Clemson is going to win the ACC. Now, a year ago, no, not quite a year ago, about 11 months ago, when I fell in love with North Carolina State because we did a watch party of their spring football game, when I fell in love with North Carolina State, and then I made my way too early predictions of North Carolina State winning the ACC, Ryan Thomas, that is when I was Greg the Cooler. Greg the Cooler, Greg the Loser. That's not happening this year. This year is Greg the Gold. Lock it in. Clemson. Remember the name. Running back Gideon Davidson. Peter Woods. Clay Klubnik. Wesco Williams. Wide receiver duo. Clemson gonna win the ACC championship. Rock and Rant, you crushed Justin Dreams that day. Justin Lucas, North Carolina State, PATC family member, Wolfpack Justin. I did. He did not like it when I picked North Carolina State that day. But that was 2024. I have turned the corner. I have changed. I have gotten out of that loser skin. Greg the Gold, lock it in. Clemson Tigers. Clemson Tigers going to win the ACC. They're going to get to the championship game against Texas. And right now I got Texas, but I might be switching that pick. The Observer, oh my God, Greg is on something. No. I'm on to something. The only thing I'm on right now is Sunkissed Orange Zero Sugar. Orange soda. Okay, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Big Ten getting UNC UVA like a dog catching the car. Thank you for the super chat, Helmer Hennison. Appreciate it. I want to thank everybody who has donated to our show today. Very much appreciated. Helmer Hennison, Ryan Thomas, Bill G with those gifted memberships. Thank you guys so very much. Appreciate all the support you've given us. Great comments in the comment section today. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you just joined us. And if you missed it, SMU, after bold move for Damon Evans, the new athletic director that just came from Maryland, is SMU ready for the next seismic shock in college sports? You might have thought getting to the ACC was its wildest ambitions accomplished. We got to focus on today, Damon Evans said. We can't get caught off guard and surprised. New faces have come into SMU. David Miller, chairman of the board of trustees, told me Thursday the school hadn't been in the ACC 3 months before the school's power brokers, the big money, people on the money perch. The school hadn't been in the ACC 3 months before the school power brokers were having extensive conversations about what they should do to prepare for the next wave of realignment. So we go through the whole article. You can go back and watch it all if you like. But that was the big story. We went through Chip Patterson's CBS Sports over-under predictions on the ACC. I made my way too early predictions. We are all done with our way too early Power 4 conference predictions. We're going to do some G5 stuff in the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to be talking about all the reports coming out of spring camp. We're going to be talking about this busy month of April. The portal season is going to be open once again. Holy smokes. There's going to be a lot of guys. Look, some of these teams still have to cut, if I can use that word, a lot of dudes to get down to the roster limit. That is just the truth of it. We are still going to have a very busy portal season here in the spring. And then, we got the NCAA, the House NCAA settlement. We've got Brett Yormark trying to get a private capital deal done. We got the Big Ten possibly getting a capital deal done in some fashion. We've got the college football playoff format that still has to be decided on for 2026 and beyond. And that has to be done here pretty soon. So the month of April is going to be very busy. I hope you all stick with this here at Peek Around the Corner. Ryan Willie on Wisconsin. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that's about it. We're going to wrap it up here. We've been on the air for a little bit over 2 hours. Again, want to thank everybody for joining us. Keep your head on a swivel. Buckle up. Brace for impact. It's going to be a very busy April. Busy. There are things percolating all over the place. So until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.